April 9th, 2022. I'm in private chamber, and I'm watching Bill Maher. I don't know, it was just something that, again, if I go into Marvel's superheroes, like, it's just that spidey sense that there was something really important that he's working on. So I'm listening to him, and all of a sudden, I'm like, is that Josh Chatter? He's saying something about pedophilia. And I'm like, that's, now if I break that down, PEDI is the foot and FILA is the devil, the foot devil. This is yours? I mean, yesterday they had Red Sox opening day against the Yankees. That's a big thing. So I've heard. There was a Boston Massacre at some point. I don't know what happened with that. At least it's on paper in the, whatever the local school gave out, somewhere between the civil unrest of the American colonies and this American revolting war that I'm trying to piece together in what are they doing. Through some outlet they allow people to speak, which they call television, which, again, I'm trying to figure out again if this is devil's work, God work, or are they working hand in hand in this one. It gets confusing. Again, this being so short-lived for me at the moment. Alright, so, riddled with guilt, I suppose. Oh my god, it hurts to move. Alright, so now I found his, do I pronounce it Josh Chatter? I mean, like, I don't want to get him in trouble, but, and I don't know who might think that, like, brash, but, again, alright, so here we are. It's being that I'm alone in the room by myself, and this is what comes on, and I don't know how to.
All right, so I want to pick up on something I was talking about in the monologue. Maybe this is not the most important issue in America. I don't know, but I can't take my eyes off it like a car accident. It's this, it seems like in a very short time, the Republicans have become obsessed with pedophilia. And I remember when pedophilia was like the worst thing you could ever call somebody a pedophile, and now it's like casually thrown up by senators.
Well, I mean, aren't they responsible for calling out the devil's work? Or the foot devils? I mean, I don't know, I think in corporations of the dead walking and the lobbyists of pulling someone by the ear and bending their ear for a moment, of lobes and lopers, at some point you have to call out the devil's hand by the foot devils walking around. It would only seem just.
What happened to my good friend from across the aisle? You know, I mean, that now it's a pedophile. This is coming from QAnon, right? I mean, it was only a couple of years ago we were making fun of QAnon like it was such a fringe thing. I pretended I was Q. I mean, I really am.
But again, that's like that social steamboat that broke apart everything. In, like, it gets this steam and locomotion, and then it starts really causing harm in all the places where you thought you were really glued together. I mean, it's been hard to keep sane mentally with this many misspokes of a wheelhouse that used to be a family wheelhouse together with one spoke. And now it feels like it's it's threading pieces off of the one rope that had 3 braids that just, it was one rope, really thick tin sulfur braid, and now all of a sudden it just feels like at Razorback it's been frayed and it's in disrepair, it feels like, or it looks like, and I don't know how to find G over to help me with this G under I was born into as a cat.
Does this mean it's mainstream Republicanism now?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what we've seen is the Republican Party go off the rails to the MAGA faction, and they're making the Make America Great Again faction.
Oh, MAGA, yeah.
Which is now dominating the party.
It's so funny when she said it. I heard Danka again. Thank you. It's like, I will take the children back, thank you. I think whoever's been trying to run the show's been doing a real bang-up job and damaging all of the cosmic pieces that we were trying to protect, or I was trying to protect, including my own children from the heathens that stepped out before me. And we are not from even the same universe, Linda and I. And on that note, with Lulin and I not on the same whatever, I'm like, just in the headlines alone, I've heard the words about Moses. Just recently, yesterday there was a rabbi who was on, I think that's what he calls himself, but again, you know what, I don't think he called himself anything. He just said that he's Polish, Ukrainian, and he identified as Jewish. So he said that Moses led them out of Pharaoh, or out of the Egypt, whatever those words mean. So I've heard Moses before. I've heard out of slavery, right? So I've heard Moses. Then I heard Moses with the 10 Commandments and the burning bush. But then there was 2 presidents that were named Bush. So that gets confusing within my life frame, within Big Apple, within Empire State. Now they have some swath of cloth that they use as Excelsior. Not quite sure what that is. Have not. I'm in form, but they have not informed me of what else is working around here or in disrepair. There's been no attempt, even though they held me in a room and they could have had, they had a captive audience. They could have been instructing and building, but didn't work out the way I think everybody would have expected it had everybody been on the same page, or a mage or whatever. So that's it with Moses. So here we are. This is interesting. This word Mormon, I've heard the word before. Nobody has ever been able to explain to me what it means. No idea. Just to paraphrase, because I keep trying to get it, but then it goes, the backwards and forwards motion's not working on TV as well as I'd like it during his monologue. So Mitt Romney was the polite one who stayed for this Ketanji Brown pantomime to be the polite one, is what he intimated. while all the other Republicans left immediately, he says.
Green called Mitt Romney because he voted for the new Supreme Court justice, and the other two Republicans who voted for pedophiles. They're pro-pedophile. Mitt Romney is pro-pedophile. Would you?
Well, he may have been doing something in the cleanup department at the supermarché. Je ne sais pas, in Les États-Unis, I'm not sure. But there are gentlemen's agreements, and currently there's quite a few of the pieces on the field that have been misarranged and deranged and have caused the children some really, I don't know, forte is what they needed, but they have missed some marks.
Would you think for a second about leaving your kid with Mitt Romney for an hour? Seriously. He might baptize them. Although, now Mormons, I gotta say, their big college is called Brigham Young. I don't know about.
Again, I don't know what that means. I mean, I know if I speak human, ha 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 ha, I come from dry humor. So if that's a real thing and it sounds like something else, I'm like, it's the humans. I mean, they are acting out of sorts and characters. I mean, is this late bloomers material in, a pedal pushers, like late bloomers? It's confusing because, no longer do they offer nice tailored outfits. It's dumpster diving for material just to get cloth in a really horrible onset of poverty is what my part feels like. And looking for answers, he's still in a tailored arena. Lucky for him.
We did. But this is the new talking point in MAGA Nation. That, don't say gay and grooming. That's their big new word, grooming. Everybody's grooming. And if you've ever seen a Trump rally, one thing these people will not stand for is grooming.
It's interesting because I was actually, I felt like I was on my way to being somewhat groomed for someone important in a very laissez-faire kind of a way, where laissez-faire, they say, is hands-off. All right, but if it's so hands-off, then the wild kicks in and then it becomes bewildered. And that then becomes a problem at grooming. So at Trump rally, I also feel I may look like some of the forgotten about or ill-begot children, but not because I didn't start out that way. It's just how this has evolved.
We did. But no, this is, I think this is all coming from QAnon, right? I mean, I'm going to ask the panel, maybe they know. Well, I don't mean personally, but I think it is, because QAnon were the ones who were talking about, remember, the Democrats eat babies. Remember this? They eat babies and they have sex with children. First of all, how does that work? How could you do both?
Well, that just means in the garden of life, you're not properly working with planning, development, housing, and urban, or within the G under and the G over and the overseas on the double E or the EA, and certainly North Face is experiencing a shortage and a power problem for certain, at least from my experience and treatment while here.
If you're eating babies, aren't you devouring your future dating pool?
Exactly. Which is why I have very little to no expectations that there will be another generation past the children that I had while here. I don't find anything of except, I mean, I'm looking in my last son's school and I'm like, there's nothing here. It's like,
But yeah, I mean, I thought we were done with these gay issues, but then, Florida passed that Don't Say Gay bill, and now the other states, of course, copycat states, and making it more severe. Alabama is having a Don't Say Gay bill that's more severe, which is going to...
no, that starts with a G, that word gay, in shorthand. I mean, I know, again, the New Yorkers have, in their perversions, per version of the story they tell, try to self-identify, throw themselves into these categorically relevant positions to then help carry a message forward. But at some places, the original meaning of it has become this movement that's very different. Like the original inside conversation, sometimes when you move from an indoor to an outdoor cat perspective, the movements and the actions have taken a turn, and now it's like the Big Apple turnover. And now it's evolved into something may seem revolting based on where the original piece came, but it's only because now everybody's in this moved position and they really stand by it. And to gain back that original verse before it was moved into the wrong position. Again, this is communications projects and this is big social and it ties into economic. But now I'm even into ecological issues with air quality and municipality issues and the lack of principality in my ability to reach out at G over and overseas. I'm stuck in this G under with people that are on, like, they're pulling for 6 feet under plots or for working as under 6 foot. I mean, there's only so much one can do.
Which is going to ruin their reputation as a homosexual utopia.
And again, I'm an 8. I was looking for a 7. On homogeneous, I don't understand why they have perversed this societal norm in the Big Apple, within the Empire State, within the frame or context of New York, where now I'm in this melting pot and now I have to forcibly be told that my opinion is wrong for wanting a white male over 6 foot whose grooming is where I should be at this point to get me out of this dereliction that New York state is currently like surviving and enforcing.
And of course, yeah, they all have to go further than the next. Like Louisiana has one now they're going to vote on, which says you can't talk about gender identity from kindergarten through 12th grade. 12th grade.
Now, is that for the kinder at our gardening department is having problems with arborist work for like long into future, based on some of the past whatever thought was doing good and did horrible on their estate exams and their actual actions and motion plans, which put us into this futuristic issue of gardening seedlings and having an arbor and proper pairing. It is just, it's so evident everywhere I look. And it is so problematic because it feels like Lust Garden just threw their savvy in and caused all sorts of conservation methods to preserve one's own stock and breed and species and classification. I mean, again, motive is not my main appetite at the moment for bon appetit. With feasting with your eyes strictly at like headshot at the moment for casting the future and saying ratios or rations are on par or are horribly off-shifted.
They're like, look, if you're a high school senior and you don't know that the drama teacher and the woman's basketball coach are gay, that's on you. All right, got a great show. We have Nancy McLean, David Leonhardt are here. But first up, he is the Pulitzer Prize-winning clever and author of the new book, Recessional, The Death of Free Speech and the Cost of a Free Lunch. David Mamet is here. Wow. David Mamet is here.
Good pleasure. It's been a long time.
You too.
Good to see you.
Great to see
Some cartoons.
He has a very impressive career. I listened to this piece and then I rewound it because I wanted to see. There's a lot of significance, but I'm starting to run low on memory. But again, when I hear him, I hear Josh chatter in there. But a Josh chatter that's not authoritative, but there is some tier understanding. Perhaps TIER and TEAR for ear, which shows heart. So that's important as well.
Oh, these are cartoons? All right. Okay, you want me to show them now? Or
No, you,
all right.
it's up to you.
Well,
Okay, you talk. It's your show.
No. I really want you to talk, and we're going to both talk. Look, I was going through your list of plays, movies, books. The output is just amazing. It's prodigious. I mean, just the ones that are like household names in plays, which Americans don't even see anymore, from Glengarry Glen Ross to Speed the Plow, Oleana, American Buffalo, Sexual Perversity in Chicago, and then you...
I've never even heard. Not because I wanted to disrespect the writer. That wasn't my... But I've never even known that they existed based on where I've been and what's presented as opportunity to my person. He also mentioned something about middle class. If the middle class, he wrote something on it, if it disappeared, and all you have left was tourism, they no longer look at the theater in the way the theater was originally intended, in being challenging and having it play out on stage there. So major local social, for lack of a better term, socialites could see which way and formulate a plan for keeping their house in order. I mean, this is the words and the way it used to be, and the way I don't know why it took a turn for the worst and became a turnover into a completely demolition state of now it's just feels like it's torn apart. But he mentions that, and that also is part of what I've been trying to piece back together, almost like if somebody tore up your entire one piece of safety procedure and you're trying to find the pieces and then tape them back together to try to remember the way it used to be when it worked. Because what currently is in the area and within life frame, in my one experience, has been totally not working.
And then you go through the movies that you've either written or directed or both. I'm not even going to list that people would know 20 of them. So my question is, you're 74 now. This is important to me because I'll be 74 in 8 years. So this amazing energy you've had to produce at this rate, you still have it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely so.
You look the same.
Oh, thanks, you too, man. Oh, when did I see you last, like 10 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Long time ago. Well, you know what? I used to every morning I get up, I go to the office like 6 days a week, and I spend all the time in the office. So one day I'm talking to my daughter, Zasha, who's everybody knows from
Yeah.
flight attendant.
Girls.
Girls, of course.
Again, not to be disrespectful, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And she was like 5, and she says, Daddy, where you going? I said, I'm going to the office. She says, nighty night. Because it seems to me that's all I do all day is I take a nap. Really?
So when you get an idea for something, how do you decide? I mean, you've written like 25 books or something, plus all these movies and plays. How do you decide what is the right format for it? What do you put it in the voice of a character in a play, in a movie, or in your own voice in a book?
That's a very good question. And sometimes I try to write something for a long time. As a film doesn't work, maybe I'll try it as a play. It doesn't work. Try it as a cartoon. Try it as so I have all of this stuff. And so when I run out of stuff to do, people talk about writer's block, which I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but I can never afford it, right? Because I gotta pay the rent. So if I say, oh, I'm out of ideas, I'll pick up something I wrote 20, 30, 80 years ago. I say, oh, let me try that again.
Huh. So I remember seeing November
Oh, yeah.
on Broadway with Nathan Lane. He was nice enough to see me after. It was thrilled.
I like Nathan Lane. I've only know him from The Lion King and The Birdcage. That's the extent of what I've been introduced to.
I was thrilled to meet him. Impressed by date. We got to go backstage. But I don't know if people understand how just out and out funny you are and can be. The new book had me laughing often.
Oh, thank you so much.
I mean, literally funny. And November was like laugh, 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 laugh. I don't know if that is your reputation. I mean, it was like Neil Simon if he was funny. Like a play where you go and it's just like,
Yeah. Well, November was this play about a guy who's the worst president in the world, and he's about to run for office, and he says to his aide, how am I doing? Guy says, your numbers are lower than Gandhi's cholesterol. Okay? But they say...
yeah, it was like a laugh like that every minute.
Well, but the main gag is they say, sell a few pardons on the way out the door. Oh, by the way, it's November. You generally get $50,000 to pardon 2 turkeys. You know, the president always pardons 2 turkeys.
I remember.
So he thinks about it a second. He says, get the guy, the head of the turkey people in there. Turkey manufacturers guy comes in. He says, I want $300 million on my desk by noon. I'm going to pardon every effing turkey in the United States of America. So that's the play.
I think of all people on HBO, you can say fucking.
Thank you. Let's work on that.
So, but I mean, there's a part in the book where it's so funny talking about Broadway. I mean, you basically say it's become Disneyland.
Well,
that it's tourists. It's not people who are looking to be challenged, which really is the intent of theater. So, what does that say about your future writing for the theater?
Well, I actually have a play on Broadway right now. It's American Buffalo. It's a play I wrote about 35. Well, thank you. It's a spectacular cast. It's Darren Criss and Sam Rockwell and Lawrence Fishburne. Wonderful cast. And the problem is that the middle class left New York. So that's how the only way you can have a vibrant theater is people say, yeah, I live here, it's not gonna cost me anything to go downtown, blah, blah, blah. But if the middle class leaves and 75% of the audience is tourists, they legitimately wanna, they don't wanna be challenged.
Right.
Right, they want a spectacle, that's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, we face sometimes the same problem in comedy. And I remember around that time that I was watching.
So that's, again, I just wanted a synopsis. It's a little longer than a synopsis, but whatever. For biopsy, it's the ecology. It's now you have so much foreign transient in and out. The theater, even in Manhattan, no longer works the way that it was intended for originally. For the audience that was intended for originally. And then you have outcrops of other issues that have gone on in whatever. It's star 1978. And then there's this thing, I realized that a word I only just recently realized that when you go to some form of higher education here, which I have not in Manhattan, they call it TISH, TISCH, and then there's a Mount Sinai Tisch Cancer Center, Cancer Research Center. I'm like, oh, is that for all the actors that whatever stole the show, rewrote over the landscape, and demolished everything I needed in the Big Apple? I mean, it's not impressive. It's actually rather disappointing and nauseating to have to live this way. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxies, Broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. I mean, there's not even anything like star or planet related or celestial bodies in like the heavens. There was no teachings of any of that. There's no teachings of mythology or anthropology. These weren't even classes offered in the public school. While they had all this time just wasting the youth in rooms. I mean, it's really, I mean, it's criminal. It just is. It just feels that way. On the one hand, you want to educate them and groom them to be functioning parts of society, but there's been no foundation laid since I arrived anyway, and just prior to my arrival. And again, nobody speaks on, not even just, I mean, I'd be an active participant in how to fix it, but there's not even that capability at the moment for even a lifeline, it feels like. It's, again, April 9th, 2022. Oh, and the children are coming for breakfast tomorrow, so that's an update. That's really nice. I haven't seen them in weeks. And they haven't been answering the telephone device when I try. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is Broken.